Moving averages, convergence, divergence trading signals occur when there is a crossover among technical indicator and its signal or center line. Therefore, we first have signal crossover type of trading signals, in which we have a buy signal if the previous MACD was less than its signal, and then the current MACD is greater than its signal. On the other hand, we have a sell signal if the previous MACD was greater than the signal, and the current MACD is less than its corresponding signal. And we also have center line crossover type of trading signals, in which we have a buy signal if the previous MACD was less than 0 and the current MACD is greater than 0. On the other hand, we have a sell signal if the previous MACD was greater than 0 and the current MACD is less than 0. Rate of change trading signals occur when there is a crossover among technical indicator and its upper and lower bands. Therefore, we have bands crossover type of trading signals, in which we have a buy signal if the previous rate of change was less than -5 and then the current rate of change is greater than -5. On the other hand, we have a sell signal if the previous rate of change was less than +5 and the current rate of change is greater than +5. Great, so let's go back into our Python PyCharm IDE so that we can study moving averages, convergence, divergence, and rate of change trade signals. Excellent, so here we are back within our Python PyCharm IDE. In this lecture, we'll be working within moving averages, convergence, divergence, and rate of change code files. If you have any questions about their setup, please go back to section 1, Stock Technical Analysis Data lecture, where all of that is explained with greater detail. So let's begin with moving averages, convergence, divergence, as it's commonly known as MACD. As they are meant to be standalone type of files, the first step is we import our packages. Next, we continue with our data reading. After that, we proceed to do the calculation of our technical indicator and its chart. As you might remember, we created our MACD, its EMA, which is its signal, and its histogram. We use as parameters the fast exponential moving average as 12 days, the slow one as 26, and that signal period as 9. They are the ones commonly used, but again, you can modify them according to your needs. Then we have the corresponding signal crossover type of trading signals. First, we create the corresponding columns with previous periods data to avoid the backtesting bias, meaning that we'll be implementing our trading signals one day later than observed. Therefore, we're going to create MACD from previous periods and MACD EMA or its signal from previous periods, and the same from second previous periods. We create them by going into the original data frame, looking for the corresponding column, and shifting them one position or two positions accordingly. Then we generate our trading signals, buy is equal to 1, sell to -1, and 0 to do nothing. We create the corresponding column where we're going to store the signals, and it's going to be called MACD sig. Initially, all of them are zeros or do nothing. They are going to be modified. This is done by creating a variable with the same name as the column equal to 0, which we are going to use within our for loop. For I, R in enumerate SPY iter rows, so it's going to iterate through all the rows within our data frame, and in each of them it's going to ask if our second previous period's MACD was less than that second previous period's EMA or its signal, and the previous period's MACD is greater than the corresponding MACD EMA or signal from previous period, then we have one which is a buy signal. Then we enter a second if, which is a nested if within the original one. That's why we have elif, and we ask if our second previous period's MACD was greater than that second previous period's MACD EMA or signal, and previous period's MACD was less than the MACD EMA or signal from previous periods, then we have a signal which is equal to -1 or sell signal. If none of these two conditions is met, then we have L0, meaning we do nothing. In all of the for loops, we are updating our original data frame SPY iLog at I row from the for loop, and the corresponding column, which is 13, where we created this one, and we updated with the values we obtained within our for loop. Then we proceed to do our trading strategy chart. Fig2, AX or axis equals PLT dot subplots, 3 of them that share an X axis as true. The first one at position 0, it's going to be our close prices and their legend located at the upper left. Then we have the first one, which is the second subplot below those prices, and we're going to plot our MACD, then its EMA or signal, and finally the MACD histogram with a line style dash so that we can differentiate from the two above. Then we have the legend located at the upper left, and finally we have the third subplot at position 2, in which we're going to plot our MACD signals with a marker O or dotted type of marker, and line style equals blank space, so no lines connecting the dots. We add the location of the legend at the upper left, and then we have the superior title for the subplots SPY close prices and moving averages convergence divergence MACD, 1226 for the corresponding exponential moving averages, and 9 for the signal. Then we show the chart. So let's proceed to run the code by clicking the right button on the mouse and scrolling down into run moving averages convergence divergence. So we see first the chart we studied in our previous section. Close prices with blue solid line and the corresponding technical indicator below. So we're going to close this chart, and now we're going to focus on the one we just created. So let's make it full screen manually, and because of the screencast, so that we can observe the corresponding trading signals. Perfect. So here we have our chart in full screen. So SPY close prices and moving averages convergence divergence MACD, 12 and 26 days for those exponential moving averages, the fast and slow one, and 9 for the signal. Then we have the corresponding first subplot with our close prices with a solid blue line. Then we have our technical indicator, and finally we have our signal. 1 is buy, 0 do nothing, -1 is sell. The three of them share the horizontal axis, which are our dates from the beginning of 2016 to the beginning of 2017. Excellent. So let's zoom in into part of our chart so that we can observe some of these trading signals. Let's say we zoom into this part right over here. Excellent. So first of all, we are going to focus on our MACD and against its signal, which is the MACD EMA or the orange line. So as in this case, whenever our blue line closes from below to above the orange one, then we have a buy signal such as this one. And on the other hand, whenever the blue line crosses from above to below the orange one, which is our EMA or signal, then we have a sell signal which is being implemented 1 day later. So if we want to zoom out, we do so with this, and as you might remember, if you focus on the left hand bottom corner and the pointer of the mouse, you can see precise values. Excellent. So we're going to close this chart, this one, and the last one as well. So now let's go into our rate of change code file right over here by double clicking on it. So we scroll to the beginning. Again, similar mechanics, it's standalone files. So first we import our packages, then we read our data. Next we calculate our technical indicator at its chart. We're calculating our rate of change for 21 days, so this is a monthly rate of change. Again, you can modify this according to your needs. You can calculate longer periods rate of change or shorter term period ones. Then we can calculate the bands crossover type of trading signals. For this, we first create columns with previous periods data to avoid backtesting bias. Then we generate our trading signals, buy equals 1, sell -1, do nothing equals to 0. Then we create the corresponding column where we're storing them and the variable which we are going to update within our for loop. For this, we're going to ask if our second previous period's rate of change was less than -5 and the previous period rate of change is greater than -5, then we have a signal equals to 1, which is we buy. If not, we enter that second conditional if or elif nested within the original one, in which we ask if our second previous period rate of change was less than 5 and the previous period rate of change was greater than 5, then we have a signal of -1, which is sell. If none of these two conditions is met, then we have 0, which is do nothing. Again, these parameters of -5 and 5, which are the thresholds, they can be modified according to your needs. Then, at each of the steps on the loops within this for loop, we are updating our original data frame. Then we generate our corresponding trading signals chart. In this case, 3 subplots. In the first of them, close prices with their legend. In the second one, which is at position 1, we have our rate of change colored in green to identify and differentiate against the close prices. Then we're adding the two horizontal lines, AXH line at 5 and -5, with line style dash and colored in red for our corresponding upper and lower thresholds. Then we locate the legend at the upper left, and the third of our charts at position 2 is a corresponding trading signal with its marker as dots, line style blank, so that there's no lines connecting the dots, colored in orange for differentiation, its legend, and we have the title, which is SPY close prices and rate of change ROC 21 days. So let's proceed to run the code by clicking the right button on the mouse and scrolling down into run rate of change. At first, we'll see the chart we studied in our previous section with our close prices and below the oscillator, which is our rate of change. So let's close this chart and focus with the one we just coded. So we're going to make it a full screen right over here, which needs to be done manually because of the screencast. There we are, all the way into the end and also all the way into the bottom. Perfect. So here we have SPY close prices and rate of change ROC 21 days. Top subplot is our close prices, solid blue. Then we have at the middle our oscillator, our green colored rate of change. And then at the bottom we have our trading signals. 1 is buy, 0 do nothing, -1 is sell. Here we have shared our horizontal axis of dates, and they begin in 2016 and end at the beginning of 2017. So let's focus on some of those trading signals, specifically when we have both buy and sells right over here. So we zoom in into this part of our chart. Excellent. So as it was mentioned on the slides, whenever our rate of change crossed from below to above -5, which was that lower threshold, then we had the corresponding buy signal being implemented 1 day later. On the other hand, when the rate of change crossed from below to above +5, then we had a sell signal. Again, if you focus on the left bottom hand corner right here and use your cursor, you can see the precise value of the lines or thresholds within the chart. Excellent. So we're going to close this chart. We're also going to close the next ones, which we'll study later on. Excellent. So now that we've finished with our moving averages, convergence, divergence, and also with our rate of change, it's time to continue with the last of our single indicator and leading type of indicator-based trading signals, the ones related to our relative strength index, stochastic oscillator, and Williams percentage R, which will be our following objectives.